After a full season of slowly but surely losing confidence and gaining questions about the Kansas City Chiefs, we're here now just a couple of days away from a playoff game, and I feel pretty good about the Chiefs beating the Dolphins. That's weird.
This is KC Sports Network, proudly presented by Emprise Bank.
Joshua Brisco, Seth Keysor, and Nate Taylor with you here on this edition of Only Weird Games, a super wild edition of Only Weird Games here for Super Wild Card Weekend. That's how it works, Seth. I could tell you didn't get the reference right away. I figured I'd explain it.
One peacock.
And we're getting peacocked too while you were at it. I forgot about that actually.
I also got new Florida socks.
I love those. Those are great. That's also going to be huge for the people in the comments who wanted to see your feet more. I don't know how they're going to feel about the shoes, but we got calf.
Whatever it takes.
Okay.
To get me a place in Florida for the winters. I'll show my feet. I'll show everything. That sounds like a you problem if you want to look at me. Honestly, dear friends on the internet.
Yeah, that's a problem I don't have.
When you mean everything, do you mean everything?
Look, desperate times call for zipper games, Nate. And something that just occurred to me before I came over here. So I'm here in Florida still for the next few days. And my in-laws, Nick and Kelly. Hi, Nick and Kelly, if you're watching, and if so, I apologize. They've got a house right next door to where we're at. And as I was heading over, Jazz said to me, "Oh, is this the YouTube one?" And it just now occurs to me, I bet that means maybe she pulled it up, which means her and my father-in-law, Nick, who's a wonderful man, were just treated to me threatening to, or is it threatening, promising, tempting to bear it all on the internet? And now my phone's dinging. Hang on.
Uh-oh.
What do we have going on right here?
Is that a contract from Only Feet?
Only Weird Fans is right there. You can do that, Seth.
It's right in front of us. Anyway, if you are watching Nick and Kelly, I apologize, and I promise that I won't. No, I'd start a foot website if I thought that would pay for a house in Florida. It's just what do I care? It's just my feet. Like,
Seth, while we're at it, you can throw my 10 little piggies into that mix too if you like. I don't want people can look at my feet. I don't really care. I'm not really worried about it. Only weird. My feet are, I would say, average probably if I had to guess.
Yeah.
I don't have any shack toes or anything.
No.
I've been told I have cute feet. So.
Ooh. From the woman
who's
incredibly hot, I'm assuming.
It's gross regardless. I don't care. It's
feet are ishy. No, this was actually back in high school when I wore a lot more flip-flops. I was told I had cute feet for a dude, which I don't know what that means.
That means immediate date night, right? 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 Don't you want to see these puppies more?
I don't know if that's
when we're not amongst our peers. So
man, I mean, this is like almost a record. I mean, we've been live for like 2.5 minutes, and I do not want to be here. Hey, that's what Jake Dennis said in the comments. Shows off the rails in record time. Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking. Shout out to Jake. Here's what I'll tell you, folks. I'm gonna go ahead and just I know that I'm the bad guy here. I'm gonna go ahead. Please, I got my conductor hat on because Seth's gonna watch the game. Are you gonna be back for the game? How's that gonna end up for you, Seth?
So I had it all planned out. We've got a flight leaving Tampa at 7 a.m. on Sunday.
Okay.
And so I had it all figured out. Oh, we're gonna be back in Minnesota before the noon game even starts. And then the Chiefs went ahead and I got peacocked.
You got peacocked. You'll watch it in Florida.
Yeah, I'm going to watch it in Florida.
You'll watch it in sunny Florida. I'll be watching it from indoors here in Kansas City. Nate Taylor will be watching it from an ice-cold press box. But if you'd rather be watching it maybe with an ice-cold drink in your hand than in the ice-cold elements, you, of course, can go join the KC Sports Network watch party at Holiday Distillery. You can get all the info across the socials, across KC Sports Network. RSVP. Don't just show up to Holiday Distillery, although, I mean, I understand. I get it. But they are inviting you as long as you hit them with the heads up that you are on the way. So RSVP for that wherever you get your graphics and the links across the KCSN socials. And you can go ahead and join the party there. Also, real quick from the Super Chats, Lev Moss Hey, Lev, tell us how to pronounce your name, please. Lev Mass? It's spelled like mass, but I keep saying Lev Moss like you're an off-brand Taco Bell. Yeah, so Liv Moss, and you said, I wanted to personally wish Josh a happy 20 fungal lore. He hears your wishes, and happy 20 fungal lore to you as well. Also, are we sure Frank Clark isn't a Dolphin by Saturday? Here's the thing, guys. I want to get into some matchup stuff here if we can, because we got Seth for a limited run today, and this game is going to be fascinating. The Dolphins' 3 top edge rushers right now are, hand to God, they are Emmanuel Ogbah, Melvin Ingram, and yeah, that's Justin Houston's music. He spent this year with the Panthers. I'd forgive you for forgetting because he was a Panther, but now he joins the Dolphins, and I really, truly believe that they should have signed Frank Clark earlier this week just to bleep with Chris Jones.
That might have messed with him, actually. Like that might have, if there's like one thing you could do that would bother Chris Jones, that might be it, actually. That's an interesting move. And then also you could quadruple up the revenge game factor. I mean, I don't think Melvin Ingram has any like hard feelings against the Chiefs.
Be kind of weird.
I don't think Ogbah does either. Oh, I'm done.
That's what I thought.
I've run out of players who probably don't have hard feelings towards the Chiefs.
You think he gets off the bus? He being Justin Houston and sub-freezing temperatures, of course, and just we're back. Just like with just the immense venom of I have to end this, like that kind of like terrifyingly specific villain in an action movie. He gets the grand music. He has sort of scowl on his look, and who knows?
Deepest human voice imaginable.
Right. And look, I had to remind my editor, Mike, today that, DK Metcalf last year in freezing temperatures was like, let's warm up with our chest out. And I wonder if Justin Houston's going to say, I'm back.
Let's warm up with our chest out.
Look at me. It's my revenge game, not Tyreek Hill's. It's mine.
I would not suggest that anyone takes their feet out at this game. I would suggest putting your feet as in as many layers as possible. Maybe bring in some cardboard. Seen differing stories about how the cardboard thing goes. Make it look like a sign, and I think you're good. I think that's the little life hack.
Yeah.
I don't want any Weird Games listeners coming back with fewer digits than they left with. That's my goal. People that listen to this podcast, bleep them all. Honestly.
I just love that. Paslu says legit could be Justin's last game at Arrowhead, because we all had that on our bingo cards when the season began.
Justin Houston's one guy who's never going to get enough credit because injury I think it took away the explosion that he did have. And so then he became like a pure power-based rusher. But like 2014, I think it was, or was it 2013, Justin Houston had a peak that, like, when I talk to people, like, they're like, if his peak, I would put him, if you named, like, well, you can pick any Chiefs at their absolute peak. He is one of the edge guys because his peak, because he was awesome against the run too. Like, he was so good, and no one's going to remember that. Instead, he's going to be one of the dudes that was part of the purge, that turned into Spags, that turned into a Super Bowl. And it's just funny because when you think about, oh man, who is someone that could really fit the bill as a Spags defensive end, big enough to play end, but also can stand up and drop in zone looks with good length, primarily a power rusher. I don't know, guys. Like, every time he hit free agency, I'm like, well, there is one guy. Oh no, they're going to take Melvin Ingram and his 10-inch arms instead. And Ingram's a stud. Like, I love Melvin Ingram, but like Spags was like, okay, I've got this choice between these two guys. One of them is as though he was built in a factory to play defensive end in my system. The other guy does not fit. Literally, let me look at my checklist. None of the things I look for. Well, and then, hey, Clark, can we? No, we can't sign that guy.
Hey, Steve, I love the recommendation. You're clearly doing a great job. He already played for us. Well, he could come. He a free agent. He can come back. Yeah, he's already played for us.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he's already played.
He's already played for us, and that already is not changing. So,
yeah.
or
do you remember what happened to that bridge in the early scene of Pacific Rim? That's what happened to the bridge between the Chiefs and Justin Houston. It got Pacific Rimmed. By the way, my lovely wife, I don't know if you guys know this, but my wife is scintillatingly hot.
You will do anything to keep from talking about the Dolphins. You've gotten to the 2013 Chiefs and your wife in the 15 minutes you have on this show today, and we're not going to talk about the Dolphins with you at all, are we? What'd she say?
No, we're going to. I'm going to just say this.
Something about your
Jazz
feet?
wants to know if you guys are pressuring me to get a mustache. She's like, has Nate always had a mustache?
No.
And are they pressuring you to get one? Because I vote no. Let me just tell you guys, you could never pressure me into getting a mustache. No, you don't want it.
Yeah, hey, Seth, I'm also going to pressure you into getting a six-pack. Like, what else? I'm pressuring you into learning how to fly.
What about painted toenails for only weird feet?
Yeah. A
little red
anklet.
Little red and gold. Little bracelet anklet.
A little toe ring.
Yeah, little sand on the feet. I like it.
I've gone full Florida, man.
Did you guys see the story about how Draymond Green threatened to retire and Adam Silver was like, I'm not going to let you do that. That's a rash
That seems
decision.
like a rash decision.
Tucker, you're about to come have to Adam Silver me here because I'm thinking about it.
Okay,
I'm thinking about it.
I will only talk about sports from here on out.
Okay.
I know who I am. And it's just like, I just know we have a limited time all together, and I want to enjoy that and talk about the Miami Dolphins and the wild card game that's about to happen. The Chiefs are going to play at Arrowhead, probably the last game at Arrowhead this year, maybe the last game this year for the Chiefs at all.
I have analysis.
But Josh,
Terry kills on this team.
But Josh, I have to answer a question, and it's very important that I answer it.
Yes.
Through Jazz. Kids, this is the first time as a father, as a man of God, as a husband that I have chosen to live this life, right? Because this is the first time I've ever had a beard. It's the first time I've ever had a mustache, and I just want Jazz and our audience to know that the last time I didn't, ladies and gentlemen, I was in Germany.
Wow.
And what happened when I was in Germany? The Chiefs, that's right, the Chiefs played the Dolphins in Germany. So you are looking live.
Came full circle.
At no shave second half of the season postseason? Me?
Man, that's amazing.
Yeah. And facial tattoo. Yeah, my parents said tattoos weren't going to make me happy in my life, but this
they were wrong.
This mustache has gotten quite the reception, so I appreciate it. And playoff beard Nate. Yep, that's what we're saying, even though it happened in a foreign country.
Playoff stretch Nate, maybe playoff push Nate. What was it, week 9? He said, right? It's real football playoff. Real football beard, maybe? I don't know what your cutoff is.
Look at this guy. Look at
guy. That smooth-faced little.
Look at this guy. This is not the same sweater. I'm wearing a hoodie today. But yeah, this is me with no beard, with no hair on my face.
I don't even recognize that guy.
Yeah, who is that guy?
Who's that guy?
He looks a lot younger.
Who is that 14-year-old young man? As opposed to this vested veteran that's on the show now.
Right, who's been on the open waters for a while now. We're just been out to sea for a long time. Still waiting to get that whale.
I know that feeling. So Seth, on that note, give me the feeling of being stranded at sea. I'm looking for a whale. Something that's what I'm saying. I'm lost at sea because of the first 15 minutes of the show have gone. I am definitely. I got a couple of Moby Dicks to deal with.
Break it down, Seth.
You couldn't be more thrilled that came together.
Break it down. Break it down.
Couldn't be happier right now.
It was there. It was there, and I had no other choice.
Look, when you went into Moby Dick's gut and pulled up the owl 22, what jumped out to you? When you're in that dark room.
Well,
with a
when
flicker
I
of light.
tracked down Moby Dick and grabbed him by the throat, You know, I hate you guys so much.
Wait,
I have
don't
the worst.
say the words that come out of your mouth.
Oh, yeah, well. Yeah, but still.
You're still responsible for those.
So look, when it comes to evaluating Justin Houston off the edge with Jawan Taylor, let's run a scenario. What do you got? You think Donovan Smith's got anything left against a guy who just started learning the playbook?
I'm kind of interested in the pass rush group the Dolphins have in terms of matchups against Jawan Taylor, who, you know, apparently might play some left tackle, might play some right tackle, might have Toney at left tackle, might have Trey Smith at center and Creed Humphrey at left guard. And like, I don't know what they were doing in week 18, by the way. I was like, do we not have enough healthy O-lines? Like, Creed, go to left guard. It's like, can you imagine me like, what? Like, what? Andy, why? But whatever. Taylor is an interesting matchup with Ingram, Houston, and Ogba because those guys, they're all power rushers. That's not necessarily his jam all the time. And so I can tell you that Justin Houston does not have a lot of time to learn that playbook. So I assume he's going to come in on obvious passing downs, and they're just going to be like, hey, see that guy? They gave him more money than they gave you. Go run through that man's chest, and he'll try. And so I think Donovan Smith is actually a little bit of a better matchup against those guys. They're more power-based.
Donovan Smith, who will most likely be starting on Saturday, by the way, it's sort of the news item of the day. Wanya Morris, the only player ruled out by Andy Reid today. With the follow-up, he said Donovan Smith would probably start there. I will probably wake up tomorrow. I think there's a pretty good chance that Donovan Smith is the starting left tackle. Go ahead, Seth.
I will probably still have all 10 of my toes after Saturday's game. Go ahead.
Probably.
And so that, you know, with Morris injured and Smith, it's just stylistically, Taylor's a significantly better pass blocker than Smith, but stylistically, it's kind of an interesting thing. Smith, assuming his neck is healed up, which, man, nick of time, that's great. I'm assuming he's probably still playing a little injured, but he's an upper body strength winner type with a ton of length, a lot of power in his shoulders and arms. And so it'll be interesting to see how guys like Ogba and Houston and Ingram, all of whom win with power, which is, again, Melvin Ingram, there's no one else like him in the NFL. It's like, I need a 5'10" edge rusher. Like, okay, he's taller than 5'10", but it is hilarious. The way he wins, you would swear he's 4 inches taller with 4-inch longer arms. It's so funny. It's like, he's going to long arm him. It's like, with his 28-inch arms? Really? And then he does it. That man, I'm so impressed with him. But anyway, it's obviously less than ideal for the Dolphins simply because even with everything else that's gone on this year in terms of all the things about the passing offense not working the way they want it to, and deep ball threat issues and drops issues and Mahomes getting skittish because of certain things issues. If you give playoff Patrick Mahomes time in the pocket, there's just not a whole lot there's just no way that like that. You have to get pressure. You have to. This is not going to be one of those things where he's just going to, you can just count on the rest of things to fall into place for you. So I don't love the matchup of Taylor against those guys. And again, if you look at his tape from last year, he did really well against guys a lot better than those guys. But it's just a stylistic type matchup that I'm a little bit intrigued by there.
What about the running game real quick before we set you free here, Seth? Is there Isaiah Pacheco's all good to go? Not there's any really question about that, but I am very enamored by a very old school thought that is, let Isaiah Pacheco deliver hits to the sort of chubby 30-somethings playing defensive end and see if Melvin Ingram enjoys that. In 0 degree weather, I wouldn't want to be in front of Isaiah Pacheco. I don't know that they do either. What do you think the offense could show?
Dudes that have been playing in mostly warmer weather for years now. And that's one thing. Like, for one thing, let me just, as our resident, not just I know ball expert, but I know cold.
Yeah.
And
Florida man Seth Keysor.
Yes. Single digits, 0 degrees, that's legitimate cold. Like, honestly, if you're attending the game, don't do that thing where you're like going to go shirtless or whatever. Like, don't do that. Please
you
are
don't.
a grown man. Don't
Please
do
don't.
that. You want to be a man? I don't know. Spend time with your kids. Pay your bills on time. Work hard. Take out the trash. Do
That
like
seems so
man's-
laboring, though, Seth.
Yeah,
where
do
I could
like-
just set myself free
Yeah,
for
do
other
man
people to
stuff.
look at me drink a Bud Light
Out
and
of
then
a shoe.
be in the hospital.
Yeah, because 0 degrees, that can get a little bit dangerous, and you won't feel it because you're probably going to be imbibing, because otherwise there's no way you'd be able to do that. So just be careful. But the idea of Pacheco just wearing away, because there's really no way to get used to it. Whereas the Chiefs, they get to practice outdoors this week. They get to.
Yeah, the last 2 days.
Yep, you're just walking, even just walking from a building to your car, that acclimates you to weather in a way you just can't get used to when you're in Miami. And there's no way that doesn't have an effect. I don't know if it's as serious as everyone thinks, because, I mean, these guys are professionals. They're going to do all sorts of things to try to be able to stay warm on the sideline. But I do think, like, Isaiah Pacheco just mauling through you has to be like, oh, good Lord, here he comes again. Like, just like, and football is a sport where how hard you're trying matters. We saw that in Brandon Staley's last game with the Chargers. When an NFL team loses its fight, all those intangible things that we generally can't measure because, everyone's trying really hard. The minute an NFL team loses its fight, it gets ugly quick. Here's one problem, though. Donovan Smith is not a good run blocker.
Not this year.
And yeah, not this year. And Wanya Morris is. And they really embraced that a few times. Now, you still got a really good interior line, one that isn't bothered at all by the cold, and one that's probably looking forward to laying some hits. And so I think that that's a really good idea in terms of taking away the will, because I think this is a team that's coming in the cold. They don't have a ton of playoff experience, hardly any, honestly, besides like Tyreek and a few of the other guys. I mean, if you can, and you've seen this in a few games, even this year, the Chiefs have gotten off to such bad starts so often that you don't see this much anymore. But we've seen this a ton the last 4 years, including a few times this year. If the Chiefs can impose their will a little bit early, they're still the Chiefs. And teams are willing to quit against the Chiefs. They are willing to say, man, it's not going to be our day. They're willing to do that. And that's going to be really crucial there, because you let teams hang around, or, just hand them 14 points like they did against the Raiders. I think that stuff matters. And so, bro, just super chatted. You boys need to charge Seth for living in your heads.
He should be paying rent. To that point, Seth, and then we'll let you go. But is that something that the Chiefs can actually fix in terms of like coming out and asserting their will right away? You said earlier, playoff Patrick Mahomes with pressure. Can he? Is that based on this year, what you've seen from the Chiefs, or is that just based on what you've seen from Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs?
Excuse me, Josh. Excuse me. The best opening drive
Go
script
to hell,
this
Nate.
year-
Let's take a break. Got in my way.
Thanks for listening to KC Sports Network. Make sure you download our new app. Find it on the App Store or Google Play. Just search KC Sports Network.
If you can't tell it's coming, you're going to get hit by it too. It was a
all-
long runway.
I couldn't leave. The plan was for me to leave on
Our
break.
chemistry's never been worse.
Yep. We're not in playoff form, guys.
No, we're not.
No, but we're getting a little better every week.
We're not. We're not just a tick off. I'm ticked off.
But the best opening script, I think Nate was onto something there.
I was trying to.
I know. I just wanted to get that.
Sorry, Jess. Sorry, Jess.
So
Listen, we tried, Jazz. We tried. I'm not
We
sorry.
tried.
I did what I could.
Babe, I'm gonna be done here in just a minute. That's right. I call my wife Babe. What are you gonna do?
40
about it?
minutes later.
Do like the ticking clock thing, the fast forward thing, where like Jazz is in here, right here. Just what's the meme where the one dude's looking like right in the other dude's face? That's gonna be Jazz in about 10 more minutes if I'm not careful here. That's okay. We're gonna go get burgers. It'll be fine. So there were two things I did want to talk about on the defensive side, and I feel like I have an obligation to our listeners to do that, because it's like the playoffs and I'm like ducking out early and missing shows, and that's not great.
The accountability on this podcast is just not what you You know, it's just not what you look for going into playoff podcasting.
The Athletic just forgot we existed. We need BJ to come in here and whip Seth into shape. We need a grown up.
Josh's furry. Did you mean fury?
No,
the comments. Josh's furry has no bounds.
Thanks, Tucker. Thanks, Tucker. You're helping.
yeah, that's really making it better.
Anyone who wishes that we would stick to a topic more often, unfortunately, I know this is bad for engagement. Just stop commenting, because there's just, unlike Travis Kelce, Seth cannot do two things at once.
No.
He can barely do one.
Yeah. You're lucky if I do one thing at once and it goes relatively well. And the thing is, I don't play hide the ball about this. I'm not falsely modest when I say, guys, I really shouldn't be doing any of the things that I'm doing. I'm trying to warn people. Anyway, so with regards to this season, Patrick and Travis and Andy have all actually talked about it in various press conferences where they say, we'll go on a run, we'll go on a little stretch where suddenly everything snaps into focus, and then boom, something happens. It's the boom, something happens. It is the commit two fewer stupid plays a game. 2 of them. I'm not even asking for like 8 fewer because they've got that many to choose from. 2 of them, and you don't blow drives, and that lets you go on just a mini run. They have that in them. Especially, I'm really curious what this particular playoff team looks like, simply because they've had a little time. I think they know who they are and who they're not. On the defensive side of the ball, because I'm actually writing right now, like some of the things that I'm looking at. That'll be on the Chief of the North newsletter tomorrow, by the way. With the way I'm going, I'm going to like write a sentence and then just start talking about, I don't know, dirigibles or something.
Be pictures of your feet interspersed throughout.
Don't you threaten my readers with a good time, Josh.
It's not, it sounds like a horrible time.
So one thing, and we talked about this in the first go around with Chiefs Dolphins. Everyone's going to talk about the pass rush, and they should. That matters. You got to make Tua uncomfortable. But it doesn't matter if you make him uncomfortable if that ball is out in under 2.5 seconds. Being able to mix up your coverages and show Tua something he's not expecting and cover that first read intermediate. Not necessarily just shallow and not necessarily just deep. They kill teams 15 yards down the field. Intermediate to the boundary, over and over. Like earlier this year, teams were playing safe, their safety's like 30 yards off the field. And Tua's like, well, why did I just throw to that gigantic space in the middle? And that's what he did over and over. And then Tyreek Hill is able to do lots of things with the ball once he's got all that space. So that's going to be the big thing, being able to disguise looks, show him something different post-snap that he's not expecting, cover that first guy, whether that's Snead beating up on Tyreek Hill at the line, which is really dangerous.
Playoff football.
Yep. This is playoff football.
They will let you get away with more on Saturday.
They will. Yeah, this is like L'Jarius Snead is built for playoff football. One thing that's worth noting, Tyreek Hill, I don't think he's going to go full Justin Jefferson or Stephon Diggs and stop. You know what I mean? That dude, he's never going to quit. Like, he's going to keep going at him over and over again. So that's the one thing. The other thing is defending the perimeter on run defense, because the big thing I'm afraid of are just as much on the ground as in the air. So that, like, you got a solid 7.5 minutes of football analysis, and all you had to do was
paywalls behind 20 minutes of Seth's feet.
Hey, you want to look at a 5-toenail bare front? Check out the Chief in the North newsletter.
Yeah, what could be beneath all of this shoe? Subscribe to the Chief in the North. All right. With that, I'm going to go pick up some dinner, maybe check out a sunset, walking on the beach. Maybe I'll be wearing shoes. Maybe I won't. It's hard to say. I'm going to let everyone leave that up to their imagination. Thank you, Seth.
Love
Enjoy
you, man.
A Floridian game there. And I'll let you guys know about KC Sports tonight on KCTV5 here in Kansas City, weeknights at 6:30, Saturday and Sunday at 10:35. You can catch some of your favorite KCSN personalities making their way through there. I've made the joke at Kent's expense several times, so it's not even a joke this week. It's playoff time, man. We're honing in. We're just bringing positive vibes. So check out KC Sports tonight on KCTV5. Nate, what were you going to say about the opening drive thing before I so rudely interrupted?
Okay, I just want to remind people that in essence, the Chiefs have had 10 days to prepare for this game. So it's not the full bye week, but it's kind of like having what most teams call a mini bye after a Thursday night game, right? Like I hope the Dolphins didn't look at any of the film of Chiefs Chargers because
Oh goodness, can you
why
imagine?
would you?
What are you looking
Why
for?
why would you? But in the first matchup where the Chiefs went overseas, obviously, to Frankfurt to play the Dolphins, that is the best that they've looked on offense on the opening drive all season. Now, there's a couple reasons for that, Josh. They were highly motivated because, both teams had great records going into that game. It was the most competitive overseas game in NFL history, right? Both of these teams obviously made the playoffs, which we pretty much knew at the time.
Dolphins made it close, but yeah.
Dolphins made it close, but hey, they made it.
made
And because the Chiefs knew about the speed and the threat of a healthier Dolphins offense at the time, they understood the importance of getting a lead. And there were plays for that entire drive that the Dolphins had not seen on tape because there was no tape. And they went right down the field. And I know, but one of the best plays of the season for Marquez Valdez-Scantling was a little play action duck under the zone coverage. Wow, he's wide open. All of that is to say they have had, as I said earlier, 10 days. They're obviously motivated because it's the postseason. And Andy Reid, if you remember, before we had our all Netflix moments, there were more impactful players on the Jacksonville Jaguars defense last year, and they went through them like butter on the first drive. Butter. So there's a track record of Andy finding your tendencies or just finding plays that have a perhaps higher success rate than average and then just spamming those consistently in the first 15. And psychologically, it does a boost and it also has an impact on the opposing team, which is what Seth was also alluding to. Josh, I'm interested as to how they not only attack Miami, but do the Chiefs need a chunk play in their opening drive to really give them the proper sort of ignition to the offense? Because, hey man, if Justin Houston gonna be out there, look, we don't even know if half the secondary is going to be out there. If there are a bunch of guys who haven't played together on defense in the most important game of the season, and you get an Andy Reid special first 15, I can kind of see where this is going with a healthier Mahomes, a focused offensive line, and if you just don't turn the ball over or get a penalty, you should have success. But I think we probably both agree, Josh, that if there is a chunk play on that first drive and they go down and they execute in the red zone, that might be the best chance they have all game because of the conditions to sort of dictate the tempo.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And again, especially when you are thinking about a game where just everything might be a little bit harder, just every facet of the game for both sides. I like that a lot. It's also, those are the two things that has felt the most uncharacteristic about this team this year, right? I mean, it's the lack of chunk plays by and large, and then executing in the red zone, which is, I mean, the more functional Chiefs offenses of the recent past also occasionally ran into some red zone stretches where we made that the thing we talked about, and why was that not working? But chunk plays were never a problem. And this offense has gone entire stretches this year not feeling terribly explosive. If they can do a combination of assert their will and get a chunk play out of the whole deal and start this game 7-0. That would feel enormous, especially if you're talking about a team. And again, this is like super pop psychology, I guess. But if you're talking about a team, and I don't want to overemphasize the weather, but it's a part of it. If you're talking about a team that ended the year limping to the finish line, that is playing without so many important defenders, that's in 0 degrees, that feels like less than 0, and they, at one point were going to host a game in Miami and probably could have hosted a couple of games in Miami. I guess they would have definitely hosted 2 if they would have won them both. Yeah, won the first one. That's a team that does feel fragile to me, but not doomed. Because I will not for a moment pretend that I think this is 100% locked up Chiefs victory. I've watched them lose to way worse teams than the Dolphins this year. I've watched them make mistakes against worse defenses. All of that still kind of scares me. Real quick on the injury front, with that being part of the news today with the injury reports, Jaylen Waddle and Raheem Mostert were both limited all week. They're both officially questionable. I think we expect them to play. We will not, fittingly with a foot injury, the way this show's gone today. Xavier Howard will be out. He did not practice this week, so he will miss that game with a foot. Check out Chief in the North newsletter for more on that. And then Deshaun Elliott and Javon Holland both questionable after not practicing all week. Javon Holland, by the way, is on the injury report with knees.
Ugh.
With an S. You only got 2 of them. He's not using his spare knee.
You kind of need those to cover people.
Generally, I would think so. And then also real quick, Justin Ross and Kadarius Toney both limited all week. Ross didn't practice at all back on Tuesday. Tuesday, right?
Yes.
And so both questionable. Andy Reid, I did think it was interesting today. Really small note, but he was asked. I can't remember which of y'all asked it, but he was asked about Kadarius Toney, what usage he would expect if he is available, and Andy Reid just said limited. Like he just sort of said that. So that's kind of interesting and kind of annoying for just how this whole experiment's gone.
Now, look, that's not a guarantee that he will be active on Saturday.
Right.
But do you want my hypothesis on what that means? My interpretation?
Yeah.
Line his ass up in the backfield and hand it off.
I'll take it. No Jerick McKinnon. We know also Matt Derrick had the scoops on that McKinnon had surgery for a core muscle and pelvic bone injury, I think. Yeah. It was something that sounded very unpleasant. You can check him. His work's all at ChiefsDigest.com, obviously, one of our many esteemed colleagues. But Jerick McKinnon will not be back for this or any point down the playoff stretch. That's pretty open and shut, right?
It would have to be them making the Super Bowl for it to be another question mark. And again, that would still be what I would consider slim odds. But yeah, with Kadarius Toney, that's end of rounds, jet sweeps, orbit motion. Yep. Check it down if it's there.
And Mecole Hardman just took 100% of the snaps last week, so we know physically he's good to go.
And maybe hand it off in the backfield, they did against the Buffalo Bills, which, hey, was a chunk play from the running perspective. So if you want to, and the other reason why you might want to activate Kadarius Toney is if something were to happen with Richie James, or if Richie James is even a bigger part of the offense and you need Kadarius to focus on punt return. Of course, I think Kadarius Toney is still their most explosive punt returner, but as I've informed all of us, Richie James, the I can't go back punt returner. I can't fair catch. I don't do that. And again, it's going to feel like -5 degrees outside. You ain't gonna see my hand come up. Nope. Can't go back. Cannot. Will not go back. Will return. Does my name say punt returner? Not punt fair catcher.
Not punt fair catcher.
Hell no. Let's get busy. But the ball might feel like a brick, and it's windy and it's cold, and if they hit you, it's gonna hurt. I cannot, nor will I, go back.
As you were talking there, Nate, I was thinking, oh man, I should check out what some of the props are on DraftKings, because I am intrigued by where this cast of misfit characters is going to end up. But I also haven't touched any of those lines yet. But if I wanted to, Tucker, tell me again where I would go and how I would do that.
Oh, Josh. Oh ye of little faith. You go to DraftKings Sportsbook, an official sports betting partner of the NFL playoffs, and they're bringing you an offer that'll make the playoffs electrifying. New customers can bet $5 on any game and get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Right now, Chiefs favored by 4 points. Over-under set at 44, and you can download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code KCSN. New customers can bet $5 to get $200 instantly in bonus bets. Only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code KCSN. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly on behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction. Void in Ontario. Bonus bets expire 168 hours after issuance. See dkng.com/football for eligibility, deposit restrictions, terms, and responsible gaming resources. Back to you, Josh.
Impeccable as always, Tucker. You, unlike the rest of us, are absolutely in playoff form.
Can I share with you my favorite detail of the Dave Tobe annual weekly press conference?
I would love that.
I'm gonna look up the box score because I forgot the young man's name. But look, again, this is Dave Tobe unannounced, being like, well, look, the ball's going to be hard. It's going to be tough. It's going to be windy. Like, again, we understand that, like, it's playoff time, which means you might get a little bit more, you might get some returns. And if you notice in the last game, the Miami Dolphins, and he said that their punter basically out punted his coverage on punt return. And that led to, I would guess, Dave Tobe's favorite play of the game, which is the game-swinging punt return for touchdown, a 96-yard punt return by Deontay Hardy, of which Dave Tobe said, didn't he catch it at like the 5? And I said, no, Dave. No, Dave. No, Dave.
Nate,
no.
When
No,
I say
Dave.
that I stood up out of my chair. And all it took, Dave, for a punt return from the 5 to turn to a touchdown was a dude's knee exploding as he took out another one of his teammates leaving a wide open hole for the
Yes,
return.
no, Dave. So again, they have the let me scroll here because I want to give the person complete justice. Nate Dogg, YOLO punt returner, Richie James,
That's
and
what it is.
YOLO special teams coach Dave Tobe. Hey, did y'all see? He basically looked at all of us in the room and said, did y'all see that 96-yard punt return? See?
Yeah. And what I would have loved to have said or to ask in return is, yeah, Dave, no, look, it's clear. It can be done, which makes it even more wild that you guys haven't done it. Because you keep returning kicks from inside the 10, and it never works.
Yes.
So what are you proving? I don't understand.
With the most talented quarterback in the league.
Like, I don't know, man. I don't like what this season has done to me.
Okay, if Josh Allen's going to throw 2 YOLO interceptions, by the way, my favorite interception of the year, a step back heave. I said, what James Harden is going on? We could be the 2 seed, you dummy. What are you doing? Step back, gotta have it. And you're just like, and I love that Chris Collinsworth was like, what an incredible arm punt.
Yep, that's, if it works, it works.
It's one of the greatest YOLO interceptions I've ever seen. And I'm like, okay, if Josh Allen throws 2 just horrid interceptions, then okay. In a kind of must-have-it game, all right, Hardy, you can take one back. I bet you Patrick doesn't throw 2 YOLO interceptions, but Richie James is taking it out of row 5. You know it. You know it.
It's gonna happen. It's gonna happen. And Tobe also talked about, because the cold affects the flight of the ball. I do believe, just to quote him directly, I believe Dave Tobe said, I'm paraphrasing as close as I can remember, I believe he said the cold will affect the balls, which is just something we could all, just something that's good for all of us to consider.
I've experienced that, Dave. Yes.
Yeah,
I've experienced that.
The phrase of like the return game is on, watching people on Twitter start getting nervous about that quote going around was so funny. His point, I think, was, well, the ball won't go as far, so you're going to have to return.
Yeah, you have more
opportunities.
Yes.
But man, I don't I can't remember who it was that was tweeting like, "Oh, definitely gonna have a punt fumble." Then I was like, "Yes, that will absolutely."
No,
happen
it just means you're gonna have a Sky Moore moment. And never forget, kids, if you win the Super Bowl, I cannot
Bearcat
stress
said that. Tucker says that makes sense.
I cannot stress this
Shout
enough.
out to Bearcat.
Shout out to Bearcat. Thank you. I cannot stress this enough. When you win the Super Bowl, everything's got to go right. Even the things you don't ever believe could go right.
Yep.
And the biggest, how in the hell did that go right, is Sky. Hey, man, you got to go back there. You got to go back there. See, Chris just gave the greatest sack of his career to stop the Bengals on third down. Hey, dog, you got to go out there. I mean, and Dave Tobe was like, give it to me. Give it to me. This is what we do. Which means, hey, now Sky Moore could have fair caught that. Did he?
Yeah.
Did
No.
he? Was he
No.
coached too? Hell no. So all I'm saying is everything has to go right if you make it to the Super Bowl. If you win the Super Bowl, literally everything goes right. And one of the things that I reminded myself today was not only was Patrick hurt, but because they were the 1 seed, and I've said this before, they played the earliest time slot possible to then the following week play the latest time slot possible for the AFC Championship game, which gave him the maximum window to get recovery and treatment so that he could find the perfect time to escape the pocket for the game-winning first down penalty, Oscar-nominated performance of, being hit by a tank, even though he was, he was out of bounds. But of course he put some sauce on it. So I don't know if Richie James will have that moment, but it's possible because when you win in the postseason, things that you cannot expect to go right somehow do. And look, man, I mean, there are so many candidates this year of there's no way he made that play.
Yep.
But he's going to make it because he's in the playoffs and he's healthy and he's wide open because Josh just told us they safety's got knee problems. Knees.
Well, I wanted to talk about the receivers, and there's no group on this team who more fits the bill of what you have laid out. They're not going to make. They're the one that made the play, and look, MVS at this point might be like the obvious, although I at this point would be happy to see more McCole Hardman and see where that ends up. But the thing that is giving me pause about this, Nate, is that we have all year been seeing examples of that guy didn't make that play there and the Chiefs lost. And I think that's most likely how this season ends eventually. We didn't get a prediction from Seth, which is probably for the best. But I think the Chiefs are going to end up winning this football game by some thin margin and by some 70-30 confidence ratio wherever I'm at right now.
Sure.
But I don't know if I'm ready to believe in the guy who has had a down year making the big play. And if it's not that, though, I don't know what it is, because I don't know if this offense scores enough. Maybe against Miami. I don't think it's enough against Buffalo or Baltimore or the Niners or whatever for it to be an offense that's entirely made out of a rested Travis Kelce and a rested, but maybe hammied Rashee Rice. So I don't know. I'm trying to sort through all my feelings about the Chiefs offense.
And the funny thing about this is, and I'm going to just say it now, because I've been hinting at it. I've watched the tape. That ain't Jalen Ramsey. That's not the Jalen Ramsey I know. He's
Pro Bowl
Bowl?
Jalen Ramsey.
Look, I know Travis Kelce's in the Pro Bowl too, but like
Travis Kelce had the second most receiving yards among tight ends.
Tight
this
ends,
year.
yes, and he still gets open, and he's
Yeah.
like you said, he's going to be rested. I watched Stephon Diggs run past this man multiple times. And I do think Jalen Ramsey is susceptible to double moves and to deep shots. Now, of course, you have to pass protect. You have to scheme it up. But theoretically, he is their best player in the secondary, right?
Yeah.
And so the question that many people have asked, and I'm not sure what Vic Fangio, the defensive coordinator for the Dolphins, is going to do, but hey, would you put Jalen Ramsey on Rashee Rice? Because this is Rashee Rice's first playoff game. And if you want to use all the veteran savvy experience and because you maybe expect that like he's not going to run that many deep routes.
Yeah, that might actually make sense for Ramsey. That's an interesting idea. I haven't thought about that.
Which again is kind of like that's the chess match of this is like, well, if Jalen Ramsey is on Rashee Rice, do they adjust to say, give me a slant and go, give me an out and up, like let's see it, right? Or do you put Jalen Ramsey on Travis Kelce because they're both
not as fast as they used to be?
Yeah, and I still don't think it's a fair matchup. I still think Travis Kelce would cook him quite a bit on route running ability. We saw that last year when he was in a Rams uniform. But that's the best guy they got. So there should be opportunities for, I know this is what we talking about. There should be opportunities for Marquez Valdes-Scantling, for Richie James, for hell, Noah Gray. Noah Gray had a very nice corner route built off of the Dolphins zone coverage in the first matchup on the opening drive. So, there's opportunities. And of course, if they can't get home, then you can hit them with the screen game, obviously involving Isaiah Pacheco in the open field. So I feel like this might be the one postseason game, if the Chiefs move forward, where I think they have the clear schematic advantage because of the limited bodies that you pointed out, Josh, because they're going to have communication issues, one would suspect, and their best player in the secondary, I don't believe is Pro Bowl caliber because Stephon Diggs cooked him multiple times, and I just don't know. I just don't know if Jalen Ramsey can cut the field in half to such a degree that it helps the Dolphins defense.
And again, like with the way that the Chiefs have shot themselves in the foot this year, where they will find ways to make your defense look more competent by making their receivers seem even worse, like a week-to-week basis. Mm-hmm. As much as that has been true, right now, basically what Seth talked about offensively and what you talked about just now offensively, it essentially to me boils down to this. The Dolphins are injured along their defensive line, and it's going to be hard for them to get pressure.
Yep.
And they're injured throughout their secondary, and it's going to be hard to cover guys.
Mm-hmm.
The Chiefs' tackles have been disappointing this year, by and large. Not a disaster outside of the penalty palooza from the first few weeks, but I would say for the for the investment they made to redo the tackle position, obviously way more money in Juwan Taylor than Donovan Smith, and Wanya Morris was up and down. But I would say for me, the tackles disappointed this year by some measure. The wide receivers have been an apocalyptic disappointment on a whole variety of levels. We all know that.
Right.
But if you're going to give me a pass rush that isn't really going to test those tackles the way that Max Crosby was most recently, or Trey Hendrickson or whatever, like if we're talking about, again, good players who are 5 years past their peak and are going to be, again, it would not shock. Do not tag me like I'd be surprised when Justin Houston makes a play. I bet he does. I bet Justin Houston makes a play in Arrowhead, and you go, Justin Houston, look at that. I don't think any of those guys are going to be able to do it for 40 dropbacks if that's what Mahomes ends up taking in this game. So it just seems like to me, as someone who was in a headspace to pick against the Chiefs in the playoffs, spending this week going through all of Miami's woes right now, their weaknesses, largely and unfortunately for them, largely because of injury, their weaknesses, I think, kind of make some of the Chiefs' weaknesses not as overwhelming or as concerning, which puts us in a really interesting spot to just say, like, yeah, I feel pretty good. The Chiefs should win this game.
And the Dolphins, like you said before, Josh, they did it to themselves. They had 4 weeks basically to win their division, to guarantee themselves a home playoff game. And because they couldn't accomplish it, they let the Buffalo Bills chase them and obviously pass them. And again, usually the best matchup that the Dolphins have is Tyreek Hill versus blank.
Right.
But because they have struggled, because they haven't been able to be as efficient, and because they just had to play the game last week, even their best player, Tyreek Hill, is dealing with an ankle and a quad injury, and you see it on tape. It's particularly sad because he's had a phenomenal season. But he's dealing with multiple injuries. We saw the ankle injury against the Tennessee Titans, and you saw the quad injury, I believe, against the Dallas Cowboys, and he tried to gut it out against the against the Buffalo Bills. Now he's coming into frigid Arrowhead, and Trent McDuffie and L'Jarius Sneed are as rested as you could ask them to be for this particular matchup. So not even their greatest matchup on a week-by-week basis can even be accentuated, because I'm not sure how healthy Tyreek Hill is going to be, but I know L'Jarius Sneed's calf injury is as good as it's going to be entering the playoffs. He got the time that Tyreek Hill couldn't get last week. And even when they want to put him inside in the slot to get away from those jam coverages or those press man situations that Seth said earlier, well, Trent McDuffie's going to be as healthy as you could ask someone in their second year to cover Tyreek Hill, or to at least not make it as such a wide open matchup for Tua Tagovailoa. So it's a situation where it seems like the Chiefs are benefiting from a weakened division and the ability to play in a home playoff game, even if it is in frigid temperatures, versus a Dolphins team that has been belaboring for quite some time now. And they're playing. I also think of this too, like, sure, both teams played on Sunday. Cool. Chiefs flew home. Miami has to play at night and basically go back to practice on Tuesday so that they can fly to Kansas City on Friday so that they can play on Saturday night. That is a horrid turnaround. They have the worst turnaround of any playoff team in Wild Card Round this week, and I do think that matters just as much as the weather. So, and again, their guys played, and the Chiefs' most important players, minus Chris Jones, didn't play.
Going 20-17.
Ooh.
I'm following my low scoring pathways. I'm keeping it close. I think the Chiefs win this game in a way that's not. I don't think that's a tie-breaking Harrison Butker field goal.
Mm-hmm.
But that is the headspace I am in for a low scoring Chiefs victory at Arrowhead. I want to ask you kind of a big picture question about the billion things you've written this week. But while we're in prediction territory, what do you got?
Fascinatingly enough, Josh, I have Chiefs 20, Dolphins 16.
16.
We did not talk about this in our.
No, we never do. We never talk about.
Yeah, in our pre-production meeting. That is
evidence by the fact that Seth didn't give us one.
Nope. So yeah, I think the first team to 20 probably wins. Just because it's gonna be hard conditions, and I'm not sure either offense can have the explosion that you want. But this is it, this is where coaching really, really matters. And I know we've talked about Hard Knocks before, the in season. I cannot wait for Tuesday night, regardless of the outcome, because how does Josh McDaniels coach this team?
Boy, that's crazy that they brought Josh McDaniels in. That feels like
Mike McDaniels. Oh God! Oh, what am I doing? There's too many names. There's too many names. Oh,
wait till I tell you about the Ravens defensive coordinator.
What's his name?
Mike McDonald.
Dang it. Okay, kids. So obviously Mike McDaniels curses like a sailor. It's probably the best part of Hard Knocks. Because he doesn't look like glass eater coach guy. So it's just a great contrast from what you normally get. He's not Joe Cullen.
No.
But he talks like Joe Cullen.
But he does, right? Yeah,
yes.
It's a different tone.
Yeah. So I do get the sense that like this is a hard thing for Mike McDaniel to get right. I mean, he's got to figure out a way for Tua to have time when you have. I think the game can really be won up front because the Dolphins also have some banged up guys on the offensive line that we haven't even talked about, right? But on certain third down snaps, it's going to be Chris Jones, Charles Omenihu, and George Karlaftis, and then a rotation of whoever the fourth pass rusher is on those downs. One of those guys can win one-on-one. They've sort of demonstrated that now. And of course, Chris Jones will probably take up a double team, which will lead to somebody getting a likely one-on-one. So you got to figure that out. You got to figure out how to use Jaylen Waddle and Tyreek Hill less than 100%. I know people have talked about how do you say his name? The rookie running back, Achan?
I think it's Achan now, yeah.
Achan, he's amazing, but he's not good in pass protection. So how often, there's a pendulum swing that way. Like if Justin Reed is coming through the B gap, I don't know. I mean, I hope Achan can disrupt and get in his way, but that's a matchup that I think Steve Spagnuolo can say, ooh, look at this. Like if he's in on a third down, because Raheem Mostert is limited based on his snaps because of his injuries, and they have a third running back on the depth chart that you wouldn't normally use, you can sort of use more safety blitzes because that usually lends to the running back staying in. So I just named like 4 things that he has to think of just on offense, let alone what Vic Fangio has to do with on defense, which is, do you drop 8? Do you blitz Mahomes? Do you just hit shuffle on the playlist and say, give me a play, any play? We'll just take any play. Because I just have dudes out here that I'm not sure can, that have just not played together. And again, the most important game of the season. So the coaching job Miami tries to do, whether they simplify things or whether they sort of ratchet up from their own tendencies, is fascinating. But the Chiefs kind of get to have the advantage for the first time in basically 2 months in terms of preparation, health, and obviously playing in home conditions.
Also, Andy Reid and Travis Kelce said they're not retiring. Just could have mentioned that earlier. Nate asked Andy Reid about it.
He saw me say, "Okay, coach. I know they
been talking about Belichick and Saban.
I know they prepped you on it, baby. I know they prepped you on it. I got prepped too. Hey man, I'm sorry, coach. I ain't gonna do you like Jay Glazer, but you coming back, right? Right, baby? You coming back? You coming back? Ain't nobody worried about you."
And Kelce was even more definitive, talking about no desire to stop anytime soon is encouraging. I don't know. We'll see where that all pans out, but that's the last 2 items of note. Also, I ashamedly but excitedly have not yet read the massive Mahomes piece that you dropped this morning, Nate. I don't know what time it came out, but I have not sat down until
this morning.
Officially,
yeah,
so,
it was this morning. You should.
Can you give a little quick sales job on that, and you can get us out of here, baby. We did it.
We did.
Actually, hold on. I'm gonna need the ball back real quick after that. But go ahead, and tell me about this Mahomes story real quick.
Okay, so guys,
quack.
It's a different year. This is. I think we all admit, or we all acknowledge, I should say, this is Patrick Mahomes' most difficult season for all the reasons we've said on this podcast throughout the course of the year. Now, I think the outbursts have been most fascinating and perhaps most telling. But can I read you a paragraph that I wrote deep into this story, Josh? Which,
yes,
I'm leading you from the tippity top all the way here. This is kind of the apex moment, and I normally don't do this, but if you want to subscribe to The Athletic, please do. Are we ready, kids?
Let's hit it.
More than ever, this is me quoting what I wrote. Quote, more than ever before in his postseason career, Mahomes will attempt to be less of a gunslinger. Instead, he will likely try to perfect what most quarterbacks are asked to do when they are labeled a game manager instead of a superstar. Ensure the offense plays complementary football. Nobody wants to say it, kids, so I'll write it right here. I'll say it right now. He has to manage the game, not because of his own talent,
right,
but because of the circumstances surrounding him. And on one fold, you know why he got to be a game manager now. And the twofold of this is everybody coming up to him and saying, don't do this to this defense. Don't do what you did against the Las Vegas Raiders to this defense. Trust them. Let them take you home. And when they give you the opportunity to finish the game, then you strike. But I just want people to understand this. Matt Nagy and Andy Reid, as best they can, are going to try to get the game's most talented quarterback to manage the game more than he's ever been asked to manage the game in the postseason. That's where we are as this voyage goes into the dark waters that is the postseason, where potentially, if the Chiefs win and the Bills win, they will be playing a real playoff game next week. Manage the game and don't do it to these boys.
It's a fitting send-off for a weird season that has lived up to its name. I'll give you this, and then we can get out of here. Over on, let me check these notes. Sports Radio 810 WHB, it says 8:10 a.m. on your radio dial. Interesting. You can enjoy the Central Bank Midwest pregame show at 9 a.m. on Saturday, because then KU will have a basketball game in the afternoon, and then after that, it's Browns-Texans. You'll hear that game, and then after Chiefs-Dolphins, of course, it's me. Plus, we got a triple header over there on 810 on Sunday, so you can check that out. Stu opens the day. Sterling Holmes opens the day. But then you got the full triple header on 810 on Sunday as well. Bills-Steelers, Packers-Cowboys, Rams-Lions, and of course, we got the Monday night game for you there as well. So that's all over on Sports Radio 810. WHB. You can enjoy all that action. Again, mentioned the KCSN watch party. Check that out on the KCSN socials, and RSVP if you want to watch with a whole bunch of KCSNers with the Holiday Distillery. So enjoy all of that. Hope everyone has a warm as possible weekend, and hopefully it's warmed by a Chiefs win, and hopefully everyone returns with all their digits. There we go, Nate. Now you can get us out of here.
Quick shout out and a lovely thank you to Adam Jones. He actually stopped me in the middle of writing today, which is pretty cool. He loves you. He loves Seth. He loves Tucker. He loves the show.
Thank you very much.
So thank you, Adam Jones,
Thank you, Adam.
for everything. He loves the interfaith jokes that we give, which is always a thrill when people hear us talk about our faith and how it relates to this silly sport where the ball isn't round
And somehow relates to Seth's feet. It's messed up.
It's incredible, but we can always go back to Romans 8 and just start from there. So I do appreciate Adam saying hello and saying thank you and for listening and watching us be ridiculous. All right, kids. It's playoff football. And I know this is playoff podcasting, and we got off to a bumpy road, but I just want to remind you guys, as we end.
Seth has responded. Chiefs 27, Dolphins 24. Just under the buzzer.
He's always the high man this year. Seth, I don't know if they're going to score 27. Maybe the defense scores. Maybe it's like in Germany where the defense gets a touchdown. I just want to remind you, kids, when it ends real fast.
Yeah.
It ends before you realize it, and then it's over. And so it's better to, as Jake Dennis says, look, it is awfully cold to unzip, but you better unzip it. Because when it ends, it's over. And all of a sudden, you're like, I didn't even get to unzip. Yeah. That's it, kids. I cannot stress enough the shock on, you're going to see it on television this week. Obviously, if you're not at the game on Saturday, but you're going to see it in one of these games where the shock is so sudden and the season gets distilled to one play, one mistake, and it's over. And that team is no more. There will be a new team. There will be a new season. So for as exciting as the playoffs can be, I just want to remind our audience that you might know when it's over. And sometimes you might know it before the actual players do. And that is the beauty of this silly ass sport, is when it's over, holy smokes. It's almost worse than like March Madness losses where you're just like, well, that was at the buzzer. Nah, man. It's worse. It's so much worse. So unzip those pants and get to winning.